Hi, this is Michael. Thank you very much for your time. We were preparing some of our videos and material to take part in some of the UFO festivities for this upcoming summertime 2020. But as you know, this coronavirus has changed everybody's plan and everything around. We are going to show you some video clips that are part of an ongoing research that we are conducting. But beware, you are about to see images of thousands of dead animals. You may find these images hard to believe and very disturbing. So be prepared for this. However, if you watch these video clips, you need to pay close attention to what is being said.
All right, moving on to news coming in from Rajasthan now, and it's a troubling one really, where over 10,000 birds have died at Sambar, one of India's largest saltwater lakes and a valuable wetland protected under the Ramsar Convention. The Sambar Lake witnesses visits of hundreds of migratory birds at the onset of the winter, and the samples of dead birds have now led the Forest Department to believe the cause of death may be something that they still haven't been able to figure out, which has occurred due to birds feeding on a substance that is said to be toxic. The department has so far recovered carcasses of over 10,000 birds, and avian flu has been ruled out for now.
Massive fish and bird kills in Arkansas. Up to 5,000 blackbirds just fell from the sky in the town of Beebe. This happened just before midnight on New Year's Eve. And then tonight, we're learning that some 100,000 fish have washed up on the shores of the Arkansas River, which is about 125 miles from where the birds fell. And joining us now by phone from Little Rock is Keith Stevens. He's the spokesman for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. Keith, Jackie Jarris also here with us. What is going on here? These are two very unusual circumstances.
Pretty strange things going on here in Arkansas. Unusual events that we don't often see. We do have fish die-offs from time to time. Obviously, this is a pretty large one, so it's got our attention. The birds, that's really unusual. We've had birds that have fallen out of the sky before, but not in this number.
Yeah, we've heard of birds falling out of the sky, you know, due to storms and thunderstorms and things like that. What do you think happened?
Well, we think that there's a possibility that maybe some New Year's Eve revelers in the area where the birds were roosting may have shot some fireworks off and stressed the birds to the point where they actually died.
We're talking now in the break. You think it might have literally been that they had heart attacks because they were so it was such a fright for them.
It's possible. We're going to send the birds off to two testing facilities where they'll do necropsies on them, and we'll find out exactly what happened. But this, it's really pointing towards that right now. It obviously could be a weather event, but we're kind of leaning the other way.
Yeah, and this was, 5,000 birds. That's a lot of birds, and they were scattered across a pretty large area as well. Can you give us a few more details? People woke up, and the birds were in their yards.
That's right. It happened just before midnight. One of our wildlife officers was actually on the scene. By the time he got there, there were still birds that were falling. It's a rural area of Arkansas, and there's a lot of blackbirds that tend to migrate around the agricultural fields in the state. And they were roosting in an area where they typically roost, and there was some people that in the subdivision that were shooting some fireworks off in celebration of New Year's and may have caused this. We just don't know at this point.
And Keith, back to the fish. I mean, what are the different things? You said that this isn't entirely, it happens from time to time, although this is a big one. What are the different reasons for a fish kill like this?
Well, most of the time when we do have fish kills, it's low oxygen levels. The fish can't breathe, or the water's too warm for our trout. But they're usually really small. Sometimes we do have diseases that will kill fish, but they're usually very small. This was pretty wide area, about 20 miles of the Arkansas River, but it was only one species of fish. So we feel like that we'll narrow it down to some kind of a disease.
What are people in Arkansas saying there, Keith? I mean, this is kind of weird. Two pretty strange things in 2 days.
Well, we're just waiting on the locust, I guess, to come in next.
Right.
It's just really strange to have those so close together. You know, I hope that it's not a sign of anything, but you know, you never know.
Because you see, the experts are telling us one thing on camera, but when you ask questions behind camera, they share with you all the theories. And what they are saying is that the natural weather phenomenon can explain some of the sudden death of these animals. But when you take in consideration the volume of the animals involved, the distance apart, and the fact that in some cases, only certain groups of animals were affected, this rules out natural causes, and they are baffled by this information. Some of the major chemical companies out there, they love to see animals such as ducks, goats, and others alike grazing, feeding, and moving around in their properties. Sometimes you see a school of ducks walking around, and they love to see these animals laying eggs around. Do you know why? Because they are using these animals as a natural early warning system to let them know if something is wrong in that area. In other words, as long as the animals are happy, moving around and grazing and doing all kinds of crazy things, it means there is no danger for humans in that area. But the minute some of those animals become sick or even die in that area, then the engineers of that chemical plant, they right away rush to the area to investigate what's going on, because they know that some type of chemical leak may be happening in the area that is killing this animal, and so therefore that area is dangerous to human. You see? We took the time to share this material with you because in our research, we have found too many similarities between some of the death of these animals and the way the coronavirus, it is spreading over this world. For example, these two phenomena, they have appeared mysteriously out of nowhere, and they are moving fast and deadly. And in both cases, we find these two phenomena, they seem to be targeting certain groups. And so it seems like these two phenomena, they are like a mirror of each other's. And we don't know exactly how, but all the evidence that we have so far, they seem to indicate that some of the death of these animals and the coronavirus are related to each other's. And we think that it is extremely important for this world to know if they ever found any known natural causes to be involved in the death of some of these animals. And if so, such information should be shared with the rest of the world. And just as Some of those chemicals companies use the animals today as an early warning system to protect human lives. In the same way, humanity should have used the death of these animals as a serious warning that something was terribly wrong, and to investigate very closely these animals' death, to prepare and to be on guard around the world for any type of natural disaster claiming human lives. Because these animals' dead were telling humanity, beware, because whatever is killing these animals may be heading your way. From the environment point of view, you nations are not at the top of the food chain. You nations are at the bottom of the food chain, and you are known as the beggars. Humans need animals. Animals don't need humans. Humans need trees. Trees don't need humans. Humans need water. Water doesn't need human. Hence, if the environment was going to remove all the animals, water, and trees from this planet, the human race could not survive, and you nations will have no profits to brag about. You would cease to exist. However, if on the other hand, the environment was to remove the human race from the face of this planet, then grass and trees would grow all over. The animal populations would triple, quadruple, and increase tremendously. And this planet will become a paradise for the animals. Because you see, the animals don't hurt the environment. Humans do. And why is the human race known as the beggars down at the bottom of the food chain? Well, this is because humans are always begging for the environment to hand out the perfect weather conditions for humans to support their businesses and their way of lives. And so you're always begging the environment to work out a balance here. Come on, do your thing, environment. You have to give me so many days here. I need some sunny days here. And then on the other side, there's you. Come on, environment. We need our rainy days. We got to have them. Animals don't do that. The coronavirus lesson is, no more playing games. You nation have plenty of warnings. The environment showed you thousands upon thousands of dead fish and birds all over the planet for a great deal of time, and you nations refused to pay attention and change your ways. Instead, you nations took these animals' death and decided to play the old game and business as usual, which is, oh, that is that nation problem. Oh, but this is not our borders. Oh, guess what? I'm sorry, I cannot help because what's in it for me? So this time in the coronavirus, the environment is taking actions against you nations. And so the environment seems to be saying now with this coronavirus, if you nation refused to protect the environment on the account that you don't want to hurt your profits, then the environment is turning against you and it's going to destroy you, your mighty armies, and bury you with your profits.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you are doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not.